If you're looking for a podcast that packs in sound property advice, as well as offering you an insight into making the world of property effective and ultimately work for you, you're in the right place. Hosted by Arsh Ellahi, the original property rebel. He's written an Amazon bestseller, created the Property Investor app, the UK's first, and is an experienced property mentor. More importantly, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Property Rebel with your host Arsh Ellahi. And in today's session we're going to be talking about removing the emotion from your property journey. Might sound quite cold-hearted, but believe me, follow these tips and it will make your journey a hell of a lot easier. So before we do that, I want to say a quick hello to all listeners, subscribers all around the world. Hopefully you're really taking away some golden nuggets from the Property Rebel podcast. More importantly, you're implementing them into your property business. So let's get straight into it. Removing the emotion. So why should we remove emotion? Now, as we know, property is a people business and people deal with people that they like. And so in that respect, part of you thinks, well, perhaps I should put some emotion in there, then people will see that I'm a real person and they'll like me, and as a result they'll do business with me. Now, part of that I agree with. And you know, when you're acquiring property, emotion can be involved when in certain parts of the property business, and it has to be removed in certain parts of the business. So let's give you examples where it can be used and where it should be removed. So when you're acquiring property, when you're negotiating property, emotion really does need, and I'm going to say this as a pro and a con, it can be a positive and a negative. Now, if someone knows that you're emotionally involved with the transaction, naturally they're not going to give you much leeway in the purchase. So to give you an example, how many times have you been somewhere and you've fallen in love with it? And I'm going to just give you an example, by no means sexist, that ladies and handbags. How many times do they go? They fall in love with the handbag and they refuse, they really know that they want that handbag. As a result of that, it's almost they've become a motivated buyer. As a result of becoming a motivated buyer, the seller knows that there's no need for them to drop the price, because even if you keep it at the full price, they know that this person who has fallen in love with this product is already going to buy it regardless of how much it costs. In some scenarios, they will actually purchase above the asking price, and we see this time and time again. At the moment, the property market's extremely hot, and we see, how many times do we see a property going in excess of the asking price? This is because they're buying with emotion. Let's look at the auction conditions. When you buy property in auction, if you go into a room, how many of you get carried away by bidding by emotion? So you go in there with, let's say, a ceiling, you think, I'm not going to spend more than £100,000 on this property. Straight away you get to 98, you become the closest bidder now at 99, the next person goes at 100,000 and you think, oh, that's my ceiling, perhaps I should go up one more, maybe that might win it. 101. Straight away you're now bidding with emotion. Then you got 102, 103, 104. I've bought a property previously where I had a ceiling of 100,000. I ended up buying it for 135,000. So I went way over, but that's a different story. I was bidding against someone I didn't like, but again, emotion got involved, and as a result, I ended up spending more than I required. So that's why I say, if you remove emotion and you use property as almost like a spreadsheet exercise, at what point should you stop? Now, I'm going to relate emotion back to when you've got tenants. So let's just imagine that you've purchased the property, you've got tenants in there. Now, again, some of you will have the train of thought that if I look after the tenants and, I treat them like they're my own children, they will stay there forever. That can be a good thing. That can also be a bad thing. And give you an example, if you're emotionally attached to the property, you'll worry about how they live in the property, how clean they keep their room, how clean they keep the area. Now, that could be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing because you're always worrying about property. Now, let's look at it from an emotional point of view again, that if a tenant, some of you will want to be in complete communication with your tenants, and that could be a good thing. Again, it could be a bad thing. I'm trying to give you the pros and cons for every scenario we come up. Some of you want to know and respond to every message. So I'm in some of the WhatsApp groups with some of my tenants, and I'm in some of the WhatsApp groups with also some of my mentees. You've got to understand and you've got to know when to respond and when not to respond. Now, some of you may say by not responding, it's rude. No, it's not rude. You're just choosing when to respond and how to respond. Now, I'll give you examples that in a 23-bed HMO, I'm in a WhatsApp group with 23 other people. Now, some tenants may ask a question and I leave it up to the caretaker, the head tenant, to respond to the inquiries. It's only if that they don't get a satisfactory answer or they need someone to step in, that's where I'll step in. But that probably happens maybe once, twice a month, absolute max. Now, that group gets approximately, let's say 50, 60 messages a month. Now, if I responded to every one of those messages, how busy would I become? More importantly, if I do that for every group that I'm in, how busy will you become? And more importantly, how emotionally involved will you get if you worry about every single thing? So you've got to remove the attachment from not only purchasing the property, but also the management of the property. If a tenant doesn't pay rent or they threat not to pay rent, lots of you will take this emotionally. Now, for me, it's more so a process. They've said they're not going to pay rent. Okay, what's the next step? We serve them with a warning that if payment is not made, then a Section 8 or Section 21 may be served. As a result of that, if you have to go to court, we'll go down the CCJ route. If there's a guarantor involved, we'll chase the guarantor. So as far as I'm concerned, it is very much all process led. Don't get involved. Don't get into the situation that you're going to start arguing with someone over a WhatsApp or a text message or an email, because believe it or not, these can all come back to bite you in the backside if you're to go to court. And give you an example. So let's just say that a tenant says that, I'm paying rent. Next thing you know, you'll be saying to them on WhatsApp, pack your bags and out you go. Now, this does happen because you're emotionally involved. Now, that's a logical thing to say to your tenant. If you don't want to pay your rent, pack your bags and off you go, because I don't want you to be there as a non-paying resident. Now, they can use that against you, and they can also claim that you almost threaten them with illegal eviction. Now, I know this sounds quite a negative topic, but you definitely need to be aware that if you get into a argument or if you get into some kind of conversation with one of your tenants on a text message, WhatsApp message, an email, this is all form of a written process of communication. And as a result of that, if they save these, if they screenshot these, if they print these off and then they present these to the council, they present them to their solicitor, they present them into court if you go into eviction, these can all have a detrimental effect on you trying to get your property back, because they could say that you tried to illegally evict them, and then next thing you know, instead of them owing you money, you're paying out for them in terms of compensation for illegal eviction. Now, the reason why I say this is I have previously been on the other side of this, where someone said, Arsh, okay, you've said this, we've taken it, etc., etc. And believe it or not, it can be quite scary because you don't know what. So that's why I say, if you do say anything to a tenant like that, you've got to make sure that say it verbally, don't put it in writing, don't put it in written communication. More importantly, like I said, if you start to respond to someone, especially, now just think about it. When someone says that they're not going to pay you rent, now instantly you almost like see red. You think, well, hang on, the cheeky so-and-so, they're living in my property and they're not paying me rent. What is going on there? Why should I allow them to live there for free? And so instantly you start to get emotionally involved. You start to think about all the things that you're going to say, and as a result, almost come out in a world of rage. Remember, guys, this has to be, you have to remain professional, and as a result of that, there are processes in place. And if you keep your tact and you keep your coolness about you, you can deal with it in a very easy manner. Now, one thing that I say is that if a tenant says that they're not going to pay rent, I always request a face-to-face meeting. So I'll tell you what, if you're going through some tough times, etc., how about we meet? And you can put that in written format, because what you're basically saying is that, would you like to resolve the matter? So you're showing a form of resolution. Now, if they turn around and say, no, I don't want to meet, again, you can use this as your evidence to go work. So if you were to go to court and say, guys, I tried to meet with you, I tried to communicate with you, but you shut me down. you didn't want to meet. So how can I resolve something if you're not playing your part? Communication is a two-way thing. So again, use it to your advantage. Completely gone off track here, by the way, with regards to emotion. So you can see the reasons why emotion can be a positive and a negative. Now, when you're negotiating with someone to purchase their property, again, if you find a motivated seller, you can understand how you can use that to your advantage. If you know that they're in a certain predicament and you need to create that win-win scenario, you use that emotion that they're producing, which is almost like pain and motivation, to get your deal done. So it may work for you in that scenario, but in previous scenarios that I've gave you, it may work against you. You've got to really know how to understand when and where to use your emotion. So guys, there we have it. Just a quick, short, sharp episode. Hopefully that's give you some ideas, but more importantly, if you're going through issues where tenants are not paying rent, or if you're going through a scenario where you're trying to buy property and you're negotiating against a vendor, or if you're in an auction style and you've spent more than you wanted to, don't panic, guys. Remember, the next time, think about it, take a step back and say, am I getting emotionally drawn into this? And if so, do I need to pull away? And then do I go back with almost like a level-headed mindset now, have a look at, and remember, the one thing I said to you, always consult your spreadsheet and always consult your calculator. What's your spreadsheet saying? At what point does this deal not work? At what point do I need to step away? Because there will be a certain point, and because some people get so emotionally involved and think, oh, I've got a deal, that they keep getting drawn into, and the guy wants this and the guy wants that, and as a result, all these little things start to tally up. So guys, as always, wish you all to be safe, well and happy. And just to quickly mention that if you like free content like this, you can connect with me on all my social media channels. So first of all, I release new videos like this on YouTube every Thursday at 4 p.m. So you can go to YouTube channel, which is Arsh Ellahi, and please press subscribe and press the notification bell. That really helps me. You can find me on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and Twitter under the handles of Arsh Ellahi. Finally, have you downloaded the Property Investor app, which is the UK's first property investment platform, which showcases deals all over the country? Whether you're looking for below market value deals, rent to rent deals, lease option deals, service accommodation deals, just to name a few, we've got them all on there. You can go to our website, which is propertyinvestorapp.co.uk, or you can go to the App Store, type in Property Investor. If you've got a smartphone, go to the App Store, type in Property Investor. You'll be able to download it and see all these amazing opportunities within the space of a couple of minutes. So guys, as always, wish you all to be safe, well and happy, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Thank you and bye-bye.
The large majority of people make a positive change if they take immediate action. So act now. Download the Property Investor app and join Arsh on his social media channels to excel your property journey.